In this video, we will show you how to replace your ignition distributor. Let's get started. Now your distributor will be located on the driver's side of the engine. It's pretty much out in the open. But for the video, I'm going to remove this air hose. To remove the air hose, I'll loosen 3 clamps. Continue on to removing your cylinder 1 spark plug wire. We'll give it a little twist to break it free from the spark plug and lift it up and off. Give it a quick inspection, make sure it's still soft and pliable. Continue on to removing your cylinder 1 spark plug using a 13/16 spark plug socket. Inspect your spark plug, replace it as necessary. Next, you would want to continue on to the 2 mounting bolts that hold your cap down to the distributor itself. Both of ours are broken. There's one along the back side here and one along the forward side. Once you have both of those off, you can lift up the distributor cap and set it aside. The next thing you want to do is make your way over towards the passenger side front of the engine. Down underneath the alternator, next to the crank, you're going to find a tab that protrudes outward. That's where one of your timing marks is. The other timing mark is going to be on the harmonic balancer itself. That's a little easier to see from underneath the vehicle. Now we can start finding top dead center. From underneath the vehicle, looking at the crank, or at the harmonic balancer, I can see the writing. I see TDC. Right below those lettering, there's a line with a 0. Then there's another line with a 6, and so on. We're looking for the line just under the TDC to line up with this top notch up here. Once we've done that, we want to make sure that the piston in cylinder 1 is all the way at the top, and that little rotor inside the cap is aiming where the cylinder 1 spark plug wire would be located. Let's turn this clockwise until it lines up. All right about there looks good. Now I'll climb out from under here and have a look up top. To be able to confirm that we're on top dead center on the compression stroke, you can either do that by putting your finger over the spark plug hole while trying to turn the crank and feeling for compression. Once you start feeling air trying to force your way up, continue on by watching that piston make its way all the way to the top. Or you can just have a look down here, assuming that the rotor is lined up with the mark on the base of the distributor. We also have the piston in the top position on cylinder 1, and we're on top dead center on the harmonic balancer. You should be good to go. At that point, we'll continue on with a trim tool down along the distributor. Find the wiring harness. It should have a little push tab that goes directly into it. Just pop that out of place. Once that's off of there, disconnect the wiring harness. For that, you're going to find that you have a little squeeze tab. Give that a little squeeze and unlock it. Give it a quick check for corrosion, and then set the wiring aside. Now at this point, we can start dismounting the distributor from the engine. Looking along the front of the distributor, down in this area, you'll find a bolt that holds the distributor down. Use a 1/2-inch wrench to completely remove that bolt and the hold down. Pull this out of here. There it is. Go ahead and clean that up, give it an inspection, and set it aside. Let's continue on with our marker. Paying attention to the rotor and the mark on our base, continue following down to where the distributor meets the engine. Make a mark directly in line with that position. All right, so now we can grab onto the base of the distributor. We're going to start lifting it straight up and away from the engine. As we do, pay attention to the rotor. You'll find that this is going to spin. Do not touch it. Wherever it spins to, make sure you mark that area and leave it there. Let's reach down here, grab onto that distributor, give it a little wiggle, and lift it straight up and out, once again being extremely careful not to twist the rotor. You can see as it's turning a little bit. Remove your distributor from the vehicle. Now the reason that the rotor had spun while we were lifting it is due to the angle of these cogs. With that said, let's have a look at where the rotor matches up with the distributor now. Comes down coincidentally in perfect alignment with this area. We'll just mark that. At this point, we can continue on to removing our oil pump shaft. This shaft goes from the bottom of the distributor down into the oil pump, down inside of the engine. Go ahead and clean that up, give it an inspection, and prepare to install it into your new distributor. To prepare our distributor, take your shaft. You'll notice on one side of it, it has a locking clip. The side with the locking clip goes directly up into the distributor. We'll slide that into position and press it in. Give it a tug to make sure it's completely secured. Once you've done that, continue on by removing your 2 Phillips head screws that hold the cap to the distributor. Bring both of your distributors to a flat bench. We need to transfer over our markings from the original to the brand new distributor. To transfer these markings, you can either try to eyeball it or just use a tape measure of some sort. My first marking is at approximately 3/4 of an inch from this nub. Let's find that 3/4 over here. We'll make our marking. That's where the rotor should end when fully installed. Now let's do our second marking. This is the one that the rotor ended at when we were removing it. This is at approximately 1.5 inches on our application. Now it's time for our last marking. We'll take that from the top and bring it straight down from our original black marking all the way down to the bottom of the base. Before you install your brand new distributor into the engine, have a look at the hole that leads down. We need to make sure that we clean and inspect the inside of the hole here and all the way along the top of the engine where the distributor needs to sit. As you're cleaning it, make sure you don't brush any of the debris into the mounting hole. The next thing you want to do is apply a little bit of clean motor oil to your seal. After that, it's going to be time to align the rotor with our marking. We remember that we made 2 markings. Now let's align the rotor with our marking. It's important to get this as close as possible, so when we bring this down into the engine, it aligns with the other marking. Before we press this too far down, we want to pay attention to our 3 markings, the 2 up along the top and the 1 down at the bottom where the distributor is supposed to connect to the engine. As that slides down, check to see if it looks like it's lined up. As you can tell looking at ours, it looks like we're off by 1 tooth. We're going to lift this back up and turn it just a little bit until it aligns perfectly. Now let's prepare our mounting bracket. We'll start this into the engine and then just lightly snug it up. We need to be able to still turn the distributor once this is installed. Now you can reconnect your wiring. Make sure you hear a click, give it a tug to make sure it's secure. Continue on to mounting it into the distributor. Now we can install our distributor cap. You'll notice on the top of the distributor cap, you have an area with a number 1 on it. That's where your cylinder 1 wire needs to go. It should also line up with the rotor when it is installed. Let's put this in position and snug up our mounting bolts. Be careful as you do this not to turn the distributor. Make sure those are nice and snug so no moisture can make its way under the cap. Now we can start swapping over our ignition wires. We'll start with the cylinder 1 wire. Transfer it directly over to the cylinder 1 area on your new cap. Now you're going to want to continue on by removing each wire one at a time, making your way around and placing them in the proper position as you go. Make sure you put the coil wire into the center. Double check to make sure they're all completely secured. Next, we'll install our spark plug. Put that into your spark plug socket and make sure you start this in by hand so you're sure you do not cross thread it into the engine. Once it's snug, torque it to 20 foot-pounds. Continue on with your cylinder 1 spark plug wire. Press that all the way down onto the spark plug, give it a wiggle to make sure it's secured. Reinstall your air inlet tube. Snug these up with your 8mm or flathead screwdriver. The next thing that we will do is make our way over to this cover. You'll find that you have a small plastic push clip. Remove that and then remove the cover from the top here. That'll expose the throttle cable. The reason why we remove the cover to expose the throttle cable is because as we're running the vehicle, to time it, you're going to want to have the engine at approximately 2,000 to 3,000 RPMs, essentially not sitting at idle. So to do that, you can just carefully pull on this a little bit and it'll increase the idle as needed. You're going to have to start up the vehicle and let it run for a little while to get up to normal operating temperature. If it does not want to start or even spits and sputters and then dies out, try slowly turning the distributor a tiny bit one way, retrying. If it still doesn't work, go a little bit more the other way. Assuming it runs, let it get up to operating temperature. Once your engine's at normal operating temperature, it's time to start timing the engine. Now to start with the timing, I'm just going to have this lined up so you can see what we're looking for. I marked it in yellow. That's the line just before TDC, or top dead center, and it lines up with our little alignment point here. You want to make sure that you have this line lined up with the alignment piton there. Now it's important to make sure that you advance the timing on this. So with your timing light, you want to be at approximately 10 degrees before top dead center. So with the timing light set to 10 degrees before top dead center, this is exactly where the line should be hitting as the timing light is flashing. If it is not, try turning that distributor a little bit at a time until it does line up. Now with that said, we'll run the vehicle and have you watch. To set up your timing light, we'll connect the positive to the positive battery terminal, the negative to the negative. You have your third wire here. This one goes over the cylinder 1 spark plug wire, closest to the spark plug itself. Make sure the wire is clear from the belt and the fan. Continue on to tightening your distributor mounting bolt. Once you have this snug, torque it to 20 foot-pounds. Now that you have that tightened, the next thing you need to do is just recheck your timing, just to ensure that that distributor did not twist in any way. Assuming it's good to go, let's continue on by putting on our cover over the throttle cable. We'll line up our little piton and press it in. All right, friends, we showed you how to install your distributor. At this point, go ahead and take it for a road test. Make sure you have plenty of power coming from the engine. If it seems like it's a little bit sluggish or has a hard time starting, go ahead and recheck your timing. Aside from that, thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.